Hi everyone, welcome back to the Casual Watch Review channel. The Spinnaker Dumas. This is the latest addition to that line of vintage watches that Spinnaker have been producing. This is the SP-5070-02. Is this a great addition to that vintage line, or does it look a bit too much like a vintage Omega Seamaster? Well, we're going to decide that by doing a full review today. Before we dive into the review, a very quick disclaimer. Spinnaker have sent me this watch in for free for review. They haven't paid me. They also haven't requested, been offered, or been given any input in this review, positive, negative, or otherwise. This is my own opinion and my honest review of what I think of this watch. Before we dive into the review, let's get those all-important measurements out of the way. So it's a 44mm case with that distinctive octagonal design, 47mm from lug to lug. We have a 22mm lug width. The weight is coming in at 120 grams, 316L stainless steel, sapphire crystal, and that nice mineral crystal insert on the bezel. In my opinion, this could be my favourite Spinnaker so far. I'm a real big fan of this design that they've gone for. There's no mistaking it. It takes a lot of inspiration from those early Omega 200-meter divers with the hands and also the style of the bezel. It's a larger watch at 44mm, but because it doesn't have protruding lugs, so if we see here the lugs are actually integrated into the watch, it does wear very comfortably. One of the other things that differentiates it from the other Spinnakers that I've reviewed is it doesn't come on that leather strap. Great to see they've put a proper rubber dive strap on this watch with that nice Spinnaker buckle, and overall it's a nice thick rubber strap. With a 22mm lug width, you've got plenty of choice of other straps that you could put this watch on. It would look nice on an iso frame style strap, and of course a mesh strap, which Spinnaker will also be offering as an option with this watch. Moving round to the dial now, and I'm so impressed with what Spinnaker are doing with their dials. There's a lot of attention to detail here. Printing of the text is always so sharp on these dials. You can see here the applied Spinnaker logo, which looks like something from an old car or an old radio, and then it has an outer track, so it's like a dual layered dial with those applied indices surrounded by silver and then that flash of orange making them stand out. We can see that deep distinctive rectangle around the date at the same level as that outer minute track, making the date really pop on this dial. Moving round to the hands now, we have that lollipop hand that's almost flat for the second hand. We have that very vintage, oversized diving minute hand there, clearly visible with its orange surround and plenty of lume on here. And then we have that much smaller hour hand, which is synonymous with these vintage style diving watches. So when you're diving and visibility is limited, there's a clear distinction between the minute and the hour hand. The bezel looks like an acrylic, but it's actually a mineral glass set into here. There's plenty of lume on this as well. There's no numbers, but which is another vintage dive watch element, but we can see that minute track for the 15 minutes. It has a very smooth action to it. Very impressed. In fact, most of the Spinnaker bezels that I've seen do have this smooth kind of ratchet to them. No play really in that at all. Be interesting to see how these two materials age over time with the sapphire and then the mineral crystal on the bezel. Moving around to the side, we have the Spinnaker sail logo on the crown that's covered in some kind of acrylic. It's a very industrial looking crown. It almost looks like it is a cap of some sort of scuba diving equipment. Moving around to the back, we can see that NH35A movement. This seems to be the favourite movement of Spinnaker at the moment and a lot of the other micro brands in this mid-range sector. This of course has hacking and hand winding. Now mine is losing about 6 seconds a day, which is well within specifications for this movement, but my other Spinnaker watches only lose about 2 a day, so I'm sure this can be regulated to be a bit more accurate, but it's well within specifications for this movement. I've made reference to this before. I'm not crazy about the transparent caseback on here. I think they could have done a nice close caseback, maybe with a diver's helmet on, or even with a respirator that this watch's famous name comes from. because this watch was named after Frédéric Dumas, who was a very famous French diver. In fact, he was one of the original members of Jacques Cousteau's diving team, and he appeared in a lot of the early films, the sea exploration films that Jacques Cousteau shot. He was also involved in a lot of innovations around diving technology, including the respirator, so that's why I think it would be cool to have maybe a respirator or some kind of diving technology on a closed case back for this watch. On the wrist, even though it is a larger watch at 44mm, it's surprisingly comfortable. The rubber strap takes away a lot of weight that any metal strap would have, and it fits my 7.5-inch wrist really well. It's a very comfortable watch overall. The added benefit with this rubber strap is it also has a lot of friction on it, so it's not sliding down my wrist or moving when I'm rotating my wrist at all. I did promise I would try it on some other straps, and honestly, I'm really interested to see whether this integrated lug design will just fit this strap or fit some others. So let's give it a go. First up is the NATO, and I can't really recommend this. It's a very snug fit with those lugs. I struggled to get the spring bars back in on here. Now, apologies for the colour of this NATO. It was one I got free, and I realised that it's the only one that I had thin enough that was 22mm. Here we have a quick wrist shot. It is comfortable with the NATO, but I wouldn't recommend this at all. It's very tight on the spring bars, and I'd be worried that they'd break. Next up is my 22mm man cave leather strap. This went on a lot easier. I like the retro look it's giving this watch. Now, I know it's controversial that I've put a leather strap on a dive watch, but I think it kind of works. Let's just try it on the wrist. Very comfortable on the wrist. I don't know why I had it in my head that an octagonal case would be uncomfortable, but it fits very nicely. I'm kind of liking the leather strap on this watch, to be perfectly honest. Next up, and this may be the winner, this is a waffle style strap. On the wrist, very comfortable. There's a lot more flex in it. It's also a lot thinner than the one that came with the watch. So if you're looking to take a bit of bulk out of the rubber strap that came with the watch, then this might be a good alternative as well. To finish up here, I think another impressive watch from Spinnaker. I believe Spinnaker are doing enough to separate them from the pack, and the quality they're putting into these watches, I think they represent great value for money in my opinion. But as always, I'm more interested in what your opinion is of this watch, so let me know in the comment section down below whether you like this Dumas versus the Bradner and the Flus that I've previously reviewed. As always, I appreciate any comments I receive. I try and get back to them as quick as possible. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. That's the easiest way that you can help the channel out. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can contact me on any of these social media links. You can also contact me at thecasualwatchreviewer@gmail.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Casual Watch Review channel. Thanks guys, bye.